Hello, hello.
Hi, Chris. How's it going?
Hey, it's going good. How are you?
No, thanks.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi. How you doing, Laura?
Doing well. How are you?
Good, good. I know it's a lot earlier here than it is for you guys there.
This timing actually works better for most of us with
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. Yep.
just got to come to bed.
Appreciate that. Absolutely.
All right.
Hi, Mom.
So she's gonna, let's see, there she is. Hi, Mom.
Hi, Mom. All the moms on. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Lisa. And that's my roomie. So she got my mom set up, but they're gonna stay off video.
Okay, nice.
All right. Yeah, so it's a little bit earlier in California, right?
Oh, not even 6 p.m. yet.
Yeah.
Yep. Sun is still out. One of my kids isn't even home yet. So yeah.
Yep. I know it's starting to get darker earlier here, so not a fan of that.
Oh.
But yeah, remind me where in California you are.
The Bay Area, so Alameda
Okay.
is right next to Oakland and across the bay from San Francisco.
Nice. So how often are you on the Golden Gate Bridge? Is that a daily thing or?
we locals try to avoid it because it's a lot.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
I was going to say, you probably avoid it.
We make special trips there, but during COVID, when we couldn't do anything on Wednesdays, I would take my kids on an excursion somewhere around, and we went to the beach there's like several beaches, a different part, east, west, north, south of the bridge. So we hit them all, and we felt like we were like the only ones alive because it wasn't crowded. It was during the middle of the day. It was really fun. It was really fun.
Awesome. Yeah, that's it's been a while since I've been out to the West Coast, but have driven over the Golden Gate a couple of times. So yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say it's something to do once in your lifetime at least.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing to me how the fog can completely mask it. It's like something so huge and it can just disappear. So
yeah, our summer starts now actually, because during the summer months it's actually really foggy and
okay.
So now it's like a Indian summer. So these few months here it's like hot, like very hot.
Okay.
And more clear and less foggy and just more like the traditional summer. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, I remember visiting some friends in Huntington Beach in June, and they talked about June gloom. So it kind of was a bit overcast in the morning, but then it would brighten right up in the afternoon. So
so interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we'll wait here. We're just a few minutes early.
Yeah.
We'll probably give people a couple minutes beyond 9 o'clock.
I know at least one person that's coming on a little later.
Okay.
Yeah, she might be a little bit after 9. She's like, don't worry about it. She's like, am I going to interrupt you if I come on a little late? I'm like, no, please come on. So it'll be okay.
Absolutely. So, so have you gotten interviewed by anybody else, Lisa, recently? You've had some pretty significant interviews with with people as of late because Naomi, again, she's definitely been struggling. So I feel for her big time.
Yeah, I hope she gets, what she needs.
Yeah.
That she needs. Yeah, that was the recent one. That was Saturday with the BBC World News. There's a story behind that. It's funny. So I woke up because I was heading out to Bakersfield to talk to the athletes, coaches, and athletic trainers out at Cal State Bakersfield. And so I'm like casually waking up. It's about 7:30. And I look at my email. It says, it's from the BBC World News. I'm like, is this spam? Is this like a prank? I'm like, they don't mean to be emailing me. But the woman identified herself as a producer, and we want to interview you on, athlete mental health in general, and specifically about, Naomi Osaka taking an indefinite break now. And I'm like, sure, when would you like to do it? Oh, can you be on in 45 minutes?
No.
I'm like, are you serious? So I was like, babe, can you iron my shirt? I'm like, can you feed the kids? Because I'm not packed for Bakersfield yet. And so I made it happen. I'm like, not going to let this opportunity go by. So
absolutely.
Once I believed it was real, and then they had to do like a mic sound check or something like 45 minutes before. 15 minutes before the 45-minute window already. I'm like, that's cutting into my life. I didn't get my I'm like, as long as he's fine with like doing a sound check in my bathroom, because that's where I'm going to be at that time to like, and so it was fine. And it all worked out. And it was weird because I only saw a black screen. I'm talking to myself, and I didn't know it was live. So I'm just it's probably better I didn't know it was live actually, but it was an experience. I'm like, oh, okay. So, I hope I sound like articulate enough. So it is what it is.
You did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's quite the opportunity to kind of get thrown in your lap at the last minute, literally.
Yeah, I can't let those go by. You just never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's just how I roll, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. Fabulous. So have you gotten reach outs from Olympians who've returned from Tokyo?
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. It's a lot. This is like the downside. It's like I've been on a high. I've been doing this on the world stage. I'm excited. People see me. People acknowledge me. And then like now I'm back working at Costco.
Right.
People don't know that. Like athletes, Olympians have like 2-3 jobs sometimes just to support themselves to be able to train. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Not too many are the Michael Phelps and the Simone Biles of the world where they.
Yeah, few and far between.
Right. And especially when you're dealing with the non-money making sports, aside from football, basketball, soccer, it's completely different ballgame, pun intended. But I know for a fact, I knew a couple of track athletes that went to the Olympics, and the amount of training that it took, and Chris, I'm sure you do too. And they had regular jobs and still had to find time to fit in the training, the nutrition, all of it. It's intense.
Yep. I mean, I was teaching and coaching,
and then back to my life.
To hit the Olympic trials. I always like to say I was a semi-pro runner where I was good enough to get the entry, but then had to pay for my hotel room and flight to get there.
You were, Chris, some
semi-pro. Not enough to get the free room and the free
quarter pro, semi-pro.
There you go.
Yeah.
And people don't know that. Like a lot of people don't know that this is a situation and what Olympians have to do. And and Olympic hopefuls who try all they might and then they don't get there, and it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right. Well, let's go ahead, and I'm sure, like you said, there's going to be probably some people that join a little bit late here, but that's all right. We'll get started. This is going to be recorded, so that way, I mean, this is going to be a lot more people are going to get to see this, and so yeah. So again, we're glad you're here, Lisa.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, I'll go ahead and kick it off. That'll be great. So really want to welcome everybody to tonight's call with Lisa. I'm Chris Swisher, one of the co-founders for Next Level Athlete Advantage. Kind of want to give you a rundown of what's to come. So we have a Q&A style interview set up that will eventually be turned into a podcast. So If you have questions throughout the interview or think of something toward the end, feel free to jot it down, type it in the chat, or I think you can use like the little hand raised thing on the Zoom if you want even. So before we jump into the interview, I wanted to share a little bit about our group, Next Level Athlete Advantage, as well as each one of us. So Amy Snow, Laura Bruno, and I came together because we really have a passion and love for sport. And we have a passion for helping student athletes take it to the next level. And that's just not on the track or on the field, but transitioning from where they're at today to where they're going to go, whether that be college or even college to pro. And when we sat down and kind of talked through our journeys ourselves, we realized the struggles and the triumphs that we had. If we could have changed something, the two things that we would have changed was access to a community where we could discuss and share ideas and resources. And that's what we've aimed to do with Next Level Athlete Advantage is bring a whole bunch of resources, whether it be recruiting, mental health, or financial aid, things that we felt student athletes needed to get from where they were today to the next level in the next part of their journey. Bring in amazing podcast interviewees that are experts in the fields. And so what we really want to do is have a chance to get to know the student athlete and mentor them along their athletic career and connect them to useful resources that they might need. So a little bit about myself. My name is Chris Swisher. I'm from a small town in southern Indiana. In high school, I was the state champion in the mile the first time I qualified for state. Yeah, I know, right? Yay for me. But it was my senior year. And so track being a spring sport, I didn't really have a lot of scholarship opportunities or options. So I just picked the one that gave me the most money, the one that I felt was going to be the best. Turned out it wasn't. So I went through the whole transfer process, going through that process, basically re-recruiting myself or re-putting myself out there to end up transferring to Miami of Ohio, where I spent the next 4 years running track and cross country, eventually becoming a Division I All-American in cross country. So from there, I went into teaching and coaching, where I helped mentor athletes along the way. I taught at one of the biggest high schools in Indiana. So I've had an opportunity to work with athletes and see the struggles that they go through as they're going through the recruiting process and transition process from high school to college. So that's kind of a little bit about my background. I'm going to turn it over to Amy Snow, and then she'll turn it over to Laura Bruno.
All right. Yes. Hello, everybody. And yeah, I am super excited to get to be in this group with Chris and Laura. They're outstanding individuals and great friends. So excited that we get to bring this to you. A little bit of my background. I grew up in upstate New York, and I was a two-sport athlete in high school, soccer and basketball. And soccer, though, was my first love, and loved getting to get to some really cool levels in that sport. Was a first-team All-American. I think I still hold the assist record for soccer in New York State, and then went on to play Division I soccer at Cornell University, where I was a academic All-American, Rookie of the Year, and let's see, in 2018, got inducted into the New York State Girls Soccer Hall of Fame. So that was that will always be a treasure for me, for sure. My career, my professional career, has taken some just twists and turns, but most recently, in the last several years, I'm a leadership trainer and a coach, and with my passion and focus on helping athletes transition from one level to the next, or from their sport to their next career. I'm passionate about coming alongside athletes so that they can continue to thrive and move into that next level, right, with passion and with purpose and direction. My journey is a little different. I mean, I went to a bigger high school, but I think as I thought about it, I was fortunate, to get recruited and had a really good experience. I mean, one of the things that really drew me to this, to Cornell, was that my coach treated me as a person first and a player second. And that's, of all the coaches that I was getting recruited from, he stood out because of that. And it really made my experience a really good one. Not that I didn't have, my challenges. I think for me, one big one was I was a stress ball academically, and was in my freshman year. And not that I wasn't stressed later, but my freshman year in particular, it just, it consumed me to try to, balance being a top level athlete and a student, and just navigating all that. And to be able to have a community like this, to be able to have someone come alongside me to help me, give perspective and stuff, would have been, such a bonus. So that's another layer that we want to provide for student athletes outside of the coach and the parent relationship, to be able to help you navigate and walk the journey of, as a student athlete, or even as you move into another career down the line. So that's my piece. Laura, now it's you. Although we've lost your video, but
you lost my video.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on, time out. Of course you lost my video.
There you are. All right.
Can I not do both? Hold on, just did
If
you
not,
lose it again?
Yeah, we lost it again. So
okay, that's all right. If you can hear me, then we'll go with it.
That's good.
All right. So I came from a small town in Indiana as well, and I was a multi-sport athlete, and I was involved in all kinds of clubs and everything else, but my main sport was cross country and track. And I happened to be the first girl to go to state in any sport at my high school. So very small town, very, very new experience. And because of that, I was actually being pretty heavily recruited, but most people, I had no idea what I was doing, and the administration, as much as they tried to help, they didn't really know what they were doing as well. I didn't have a lot of resources given to me. I didn't have much help with my guidance counselor. My coach and my parents, they were huge influences in me, shaping me as a person, but they were a little bit lost on the whole process as well. And I ended up picking the flashy Division I school that I ended up being miserable at. And I actually almost quit running when I got in that situation. So it was, do I continue to run and stay here, or do I transfer schools and find a better opportunity? And I transferred, and it was the best decision I ever made. Kind of like what Amy said, my coach really recognized me as a human being first and foremost, and an athlete second, and supported me in ways that I definitely was not feeling at the first school I was at. The right fit just felt like home. I finished up with a degree in exercise science, and I worked in physical therapy for almost about 8 years as a physical therapy technician, and was able to still work with athletes and still be in the realm of athletics, which was great. And I'm also a personal trainer, so I still got to be a part of that, but there was still something really missing. And I realized, looking back on my experience at USI, the school that I graduated from, that a big part of my experience was the support that I got. I went through some really traumatic things my first year of college, and the support that I experienced at USI after I transferred is the reason that I was able to get my degree and succeed. And so I decided I wanted to be a part of that process as well. And I decided to go back for my master's in sport management, my ultimate goal to work in college administration and be part of that supportive process. Really, I think that the biggest reason that I'm here and with Amy and Chris on this is because if I had had a community and the resources to help me understand the process, and really what I wanted out of a school, I probably would have made a different decision from the beginning. And, I wouldn't have had to take that left turn. And if we can help somebody to find their path the first time around, then we've done our job. It's more than just this school is really great at athletics. You know, that's part of the process, but figuring out where somebody truly fits as a human is the absolute first and foremost part of this journey. So now that you guys know a little bit about us, we're going to introduce our amazing guest, Lisa. So Lisa Bonta Sumii is an LCSW. She's also a CSW. She's a therapist with over 21 years of clinical experience, licensed in both California and Nevada. In her private practice, she works with elite athletes to achieve optimal mental health and peak mental sports performance. She works with elite athletes, Olympians, Olympic hopefuls, professional athletes, and teams. Lisa is also the first ever mental health and sport performance specialist for the Oakland Roots Sports Club. The Roots are a men's professional sport team, a purpose-driven club. Seeing the elite athlete is as a multidimensional human, navigating various roles and identities is an integral part to Lisa's approach. Focusing on the role that interpersonal trauma, culture, race, gender, and sexual orientation play as the athlete navigates life on and off the field is at the center of her work. Lisa is listed in the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee's Mental Health Registry and the National Football League Players Association's Clinical Directory. Lisa is often an invited podcast guest and conference speaker. She will be launching her own podcast version. She has been interviewed and quoted in Time Magazine and Teen Vogue on the decisions that both Naomi Osaka and Simone Biles took to prioritize their mental health. Most recently, Lisa had a live interview on the BBC World News. She specifically commented on athlete mental health, including Naomi Osaka's decision to take an indefinite break from tennis after her recent experience at the US Open. Lisa is a graduate of Smith College School of Social Work, and she's a former competitive athlete herself, and her daughter is an adolescent athlete, elite athlete as well. So welcome, Lisa. We are so incredibly excited to see you and have you here and share your amazing knowledge. So first and foremost, Lisa, we've heard all the amazing credentials, but I want to know what brought you here. Tell us a little bit about your journey and what brought you to this work.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, I just want to acknowledge all of you for having me. I appreciate you guys, Chris, Laura, and Amy, and just thank you for the opportunity to commune with you and to share this opportunity so we can, you know, impact some people's lives, some young people's lives. So that's all we're doing this for. So I really appreciate it. Yeah, those letters are kind of a little bit obnoxious, but let's see. So how did I get here? So my parents were social activists growing up, and I knew they taught me what to do was the right thing to do, how to treat people, how to act on that. Later in life, I was interested in sort of connecting with people. My friends always be like, can you help me with my boyfriend? Can you help me with my girlfriend? Can you talk to my friend about this or that? There was always this sort of counseling sort of situation. I played soccer from age 7 to 17, and I got injured. I was on the way to college, got injured, and I couldn't recover. My parents didn't, as loving as they were, didn't have resources or knowledge to help me recover physically or mentally from that. I was in a dark place. I was trying to find who I was, where my value was, what my life was about, because it was all about, I knew what I knew how to do, play soccer and go to school. That's all I knew how to do. And so when I went to college, not being a collegiate athlete, which is what I dreamed of for a long time, it was tough to find where I fit and who saw me, who really saw me for who I was. And so we'll put a back burner on that because I think I blocked that out for a long, long time. It was traumatic. It was hard for me to live with it. So I just kind of turned my back on it and like pushed forward, as a lot of athletes are taught to do as well. Don't feel anything, you don't have time for that. And so I applied that to my life, not knowing any other way to do it. So I good student. I went to college, I went to graduate school, got my degree, continued to learn about myself, and then was a therapist to non-athletes for many, many years, working mostly with folks of color, mixed race folks, couples, parents. And then as my daughter started, my eldest, my daughter started growing up, she started to have an affinity for sports. She self-selected as a martial artist, and she self-selected for softball, two like sports that I have no knowledge about. And I'm like, what the heck? Now I have to learn all this stuff, but it's all good. I wanted to support her. So come to find out, well, now these years later, she's 14 and she's been playing pretty high level softball for about 3 years. And she struggled with her mental game, belief in herself, perfectionism, negative thoughts that would stay with her for a long time. And I'm like, although she's doing well, her performance is well from the outside, but the inside, she's all, torn up about everything and second guessing and doubting. And so my husband, who's also a therapist, we helped her with that through cognitive behavioral training that we both had to give her some skills to try to learn how to cope with that. And then I was like, wait a minute, she can't be the only adolescent girl dealing with this. She can't be the only girl. She can't be the only athlete. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna see if I can pivot. So after 20 years doing this work, I went back to school, coursework for the Certified Mental Performance consultant through the Association for Applied Sports Psychology, did the coursework, did mentored hours. And I was like, gosh, can I really do this? And I was like, yes, I'm going to do this. I got a lot of support. I'm going to do this. And it's really important that those skills and that profession are like codified. There's standards, there's ethics, there's accountability, there's a support system of colleagues and a overarching organization. So I thought that was really important. And that's where that's going right now with the sport performance as new as the credibility is with this certification. So I need to be studying more, but I'm supposed to take the exam next month. So no, I am going to take the exam next month and I am going to pass it. So I just gotta, make sure I'm putting the work in, as with everything that we all have to do to get success, we have to put the work in. So, so then I pivoted. Now I'm working with athletes at the collegiate, Olympic, and professional levels. It's amazing to work with the pro soccer team, the Oakland Roots. They're a really special group, and pivoted my entire practice towards athletes now, which is refreshened my whole life. I feel 20 years younger. I'm inspired every day by the people I talk to. And it's cool. As the kids say, I'm living my best life right now.
I love it. I absolutely love it. As somebody that decided to change professions, in her late 30s, I definitely appreciate it so much. It's amazing. What a story.
Thank you.
That's so inspiring.
Thank you.
So you provide mental health and mental health sports performance services. What is the difference between them? And why are both of these things important focuses for athletes?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's not talked about, difference between the two. So mental health is basically, any human has mental health, just like any human has physical health, right? And just like physical health, we can have mental injuries. We can practice mental health prevention. We can be diagnosed with a mental health condition, just like a physical health condition. We can be treated and intervened upon with our mental health. And really what it is, to keep it simple, is how we think, feel, and behave. That's what mental health is, how we think, feel, and behave. And so, there's, to do all the things I just described, there's a process of, like I said, kind of like school coursework, verified experienced hours, and when back in the day, an oral and a written exam, so that you are licensed to provide mental health services. And so that's the mental health side. So it's performance on and off the field, really. It's the human perspective. And then the sport performance piece is this credential, sort of just described. that is really how to perform at the highest level on your field of play, whatever that might be, track, the pool, the court, and train the mind to be able to help the body achieve at the highest level. If the body and mind are aligned, then so much more can be. I mean, we've all heard that, any sport is 90% mental. And so that's the part that I address. And since I'm credentialed and licensed in both, like I am able to treat the athlete as a full human, wherever they might be on the continuum of mental health when they come to me, and then treat it fully. Because I think they're both, the mindset then is determined by mental health and mental sport performance. So we want to be able to address both. And about 80% of my athletes who come to me come first for the sport performance. And then we kind of like warm up to like really what is mental health in this day and age. It's become more of a normalized conversation. A lot of athletes still are like, I'm not ready to like commit to that just yet. But I'll talk about like how I can improve my free throw shot or the PKs on the soccer field, or my concentration or performance anxiety. I can deal with that. But lo and behold, sometimes, or most of the time, if you're having anxiety or performance or some things on the field of play, you're also probably going to have some tidbit of it in your, if not more than a tidbit. So it's educating that and talking about it and being able to meet that athlete where they're at. So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure that that's different with every single athlete.
Yes.
So kind of going back to, what you had said too, you had talked a little briefly about, the cultural shift where mental health is now with athletes. So we're in the middle of a cultural shift. And when it comes to athlete mental health, how would you describe, what it all entails? I mean, you kind of gave us a little bit of that already, but how does the shift towards athlete mental health that's happening right now, how does that benefit the student athlete, especially in the realm of getting services like what you offer? Where's the benefit there for student athletes?
I mean, I think the culture shift is about these conversations being more normalized and trying to destigmatize that mental health does not mean mental illness. If we talk about mental health, it doesn't mean you're sick, but that's been the narrative for so long. That's been the culture so long in this country and around the world. And so now with the Olympics being a world stage and the United States putting more attention on the athlete experience as a human, it's just becoming more normalized. And I think mental health for athletes, just as for all humans, has always been there. It's just now we're talking about it on a larger scale, being more open about getting some education and information. I think there's a lot of misinformation and miseducation about it. So talks like this and groups like you guys have, it's so important to be able to have accurate information. And so student athletes know what this really is. So.
Absolutely. How do you feel like that awareness is beneficial to student athletes of what it is, and really how it can benefit them in their performance and all of that? How does it benefit a student athlete? Because I know for me personally, if I would have had these services when I was a student athlete, I know it would have changed everything. It would not just my performance, but it would have changed my outlook on what I really wanted in school, in the school I was looking for, what I wanted as an athlete, what I wanted in a career. I know it would have encompassed everything. How do you see this being beneficial for student athletes that may not quite be on board? And then even just the awareness of what mental health really means.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I guess I'll flip it back and say like, not beneficial about it. It's just, it's learning more about yourself. We're multidimensional, full, like many identities, humans. Like we have a lot within us that we want to express. And to know that you, like the discussions we have are like, you play your sport, you perform in your sport, but your sport doesn't define you. Like you're a full human, this is part of you. like, let's explore other areas as well. Especially in the off season when they're able to and have the energy and don't have like 6 hours of playing or practicing or training, but like a day, but like being able to have value in themselves, that there is more to them, so that the transition, like your organization does, to the next level is a little bit more seamless, and there isn't as much of a conflict or inner conflict there, and a lot less bumps in the road around there. So I really see that meeting with someone like me is having another supportive relationship in your life that is 100% down for you and has your back. I mean, and that's key to having a positive mental health, having supportive people around you to see you fully, to know you fully, and not judge you as a commodity or something you just do for someone's entertainment or to perform. So I guess, I don't know if I'm answering your question, because I think there's a lot of benefit to it. It's just people entering at their own time and in their own way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like you said, you know, you're somebody that doesn't have stake in how they perform. You don't benefit from how they perform on the court. and so having somebody in your corner like that, especially as an elite athlete, is huge. It's absolutely huge. Just to make you feel more like a human, like you said.
Yeah. Like with the Oakland Roots, my team there's a little, you know, naturally so, like, are you going to tell the coach, or like, I don't really want to talk to you? Like, is that going to impact, you know, my playing time? Am I going to travel? Am I actually going to be rostered and all that stuff? And I really have to say over and over, and it's fine. I can say it over and over, no problem. That, like, you know, I'm hired by the Roots, but I'm licensed by the state of California. I'm licensed by the state of Nevada. Like, I answer to them and my own license, which means that if I tell them what we're talking about, I'm doing an illegal act and compromising my own professional integrity. And I'm not going to do that. Love you guys, but not going to do that. And so what we have in place is regular meetings with the technical team around themes that the guys are experiencing, so that then they can support them. And I tell the guys that, like, of course, it's 100% confidential. I'm not going to say Jimmy Joe said this and tell the whole technical team about it. I'm going to say these last few weeks, these have been the themes the guys have been experiencing in general. And these are the recommendations I have that the team can provide as support, in additional to what I'm doing one-on-one or on a team setting. A lot of it is life.
Yep.
Navigating relationships, like getting resources for their partner or their kids, like wanting to go back to school. I mean, these guys are humans, as we've been saying. And so when they're their best in their life, they're their best in their sport. And so being clear about, like, what I'm going to say and what I'm not going to say just builds that trust and rapport for them to fully just be themselves. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So how do you incorporate diversity in your work? And on top of that, why is this so incredibly important for our young student athletes? I mean, it should be obvious, right? But it's not to a lot of people.
Yeah, this question's super important, and I think isn't talked about enough. I mean, I think that as a woman of color, it's important for me to be able to offer someone in my profession who, like, looks like me and has my similar experiences maybe, or different things, and that, like, the athlete can choose that, because as part of them as a human, they have all these different types of identities. Like, I can offer that ethnic, racial identity piece maybe. There's also the LGBTQI plus community. Want to make sure that the needs of that population, that community, are also represented in the team that I'm building in my company. And so, you know, I want young people to have options. So many times they're just told what to do. You know, I want them to be able to choose on their own, feel like they have options, and that those discussions, no matter who I'm working with, are going to be ingrained in the way that we connect. Because let's say I'm working with someone who doesn't identify as a person of color. What's that like then for you to work with me who is? Like, is there a connection? where can we connect? Because we got to find that place, because we have more similarities than we don't. And so it's just important to keep talking about, and that diversity comes in too around stigma, the stigma of accessing the service or entering into a relationship with someone like me in my profession, because there's a lot of religious, cultural, racial, ethnic stigma that runs deep. I work with a lot of first and second generation athletes, so they're being raised here in America, but in the culture of their parents' country of origin. So a lot of experiences of like being at home and living a certain way, and then entering out onto the field with the team, and that's a different culture. And then student life is a different culture, and so like navigating all of that and them having just a non-judgmental, safe space to talk about that is super valuable. And that I have lived experience that I can connect with them around, like, and not everyone is the same either. Not all people of color have the same experience. So it's my job to be curious and to know what their experience is and to validate it no matter what it is. So it's
absolutely,
yeah,
that's huge. Wow. That's amazing. And like you said, it's about the connection and making them feel like validated in their experience. And it's so incredibly important to have that connection and the validation, especially when you're dealing with trying to make them comfortable to be able to, open up to you and share things that, they might be experiencing. So that's amazing.
Yeah, today I had a session today with one of my newer athletes, and somehow we were talking about his lunch and then the type of diet he has, and then like the food he wants to eat. And I was talking about, oh, we have a similar like diet regimen. Like, have you tried the Indian food spot on this corner? And then the Ethiopian, he's like, no, you got to send me those. He's like, and then it was a conversation. He was like, are you Indian? I'm like, oh, interesting. Because I mentioned all these Indian, Ethiopian, I think even sushi, and of all of them, he asked me if I was Indian. Of all of them, I thought that was really interesting. I'm like, no, I'm actually not. I'm Filipino and white. And I said, well, I think I need to ask him if he's Indian. And so I'm like, do you have Indian heritage in your background? My grandfather was. And then we got into this whole conversation. He knew his history of here to England and India and what his dad did and his grandfather. It was really interesting. I'm like, this is awesome. We're connecting as humans right now. Like, majority of that conversation didn't even talk about his sport. I believe a lot of athletes have in that like, I'm not gonna ask you about like the upcoming game or like the stats from last season and like they get that all the time. Like, there's, I believe, some relief. I can see it in their bodies and like just the way they are, like that they don't have to perform in the space and like have to uplift themselves or like up themselves and say like, oh yeah, my this, my that. Like, no, I don't, not that I don't care about that, but that's only part of who you are. So
absolutely. Full human, right? Full
yes.
human.
Full human.
So what is the tool that any athlete can use starting today that could be beneficial to their mental health, and one that could be beneficial to their mental sport performance?
Yes, great. It's always important for conversation for me to leave some takeaways and some action items or tools that student athletes can have and leave them practice tonight, tomorrow, and share with their teammates, share with their friends, their family. So I think mental health is, like I said before, how you think, feel, and behave. So acknowledging how you feel on a regular basis. I start all of my athlete sessions with, okay, right now, before we get started, 3 emotions you're feeling in this very moment. I don't know. I'm like, well, we'll sit here till you think about it. Here's the emotion wheel. I'm going to text it to you. You look at it on your phone, look at the emotion wheel and see if anything resonates there. And I always say, part of your mental health is about knowing where you're at emotionally. So just acknowledging and labeling the emotions. I think we've talked about it a lot too, connecting with supportive folks who are down for you, who support you on and off the field of play, and that you're able to feel like you can give and receive in those relationships. And then controlling the controllables. I talk about it all the time. Like in your mental health, there's so many things that are out of your control that happen to you. What is your response? So I'm often talking about is, how are you sleeping and what are you eating? Because when those are disrupted, then your mental health can decline a little bit. If those things are disrupted, you can't perform at your best classroom or on the field if you're not eating and sleeping correctly. So a lot of times I go over, I'm not a nutritionist, but I make sure that they know what they're supposed to be eating and what they're not, and have access to it, and consult with their team nutritionist or whoever that is really what you're going to be doing, whoever's helping you guide in that. And then for sleep, I often talk about sleep hygiene with my athletes. So sleep hygiene is, what are you doing to prepare for the most optimal and quality sleep so that you're rejuvenated, rested, and healing while you sleep, so you're ready for the next day. And so that includes no screen time 45 to 60 minutes before you go to sleep, no screen time at all, includes your phone. Sometimes I even have them cover, like if they have a clock that has bright numbers, I have them cover their clock so their circadian rhythm isn't getting interrupted by this blue light. And so I say, so I don't want to always say what you can't do. So I'm going to say what you can do. In that time, you can read a book, you can meditate, you can take a bath if that's relaxing. You can connect with a family member, have quality time, but like ease into the sleep so that you're, most accessing the healing aspect of sleep. Because I don't think recovery and sleep is talked about enough. So that is huge. So those are the main things I talk about as far as the mental health aspect. As far as sport performance, this is funny. It might sound kind of cheesy and corny, but like a mental skill is choosing positivity. You have to choose it. 10 athletes can line up and observe and experience a certain situation. How you react to it and your response to it is your choice. You might have an initial emotional reaction to whatever has happened to, like we just got scored on in soccer. We just got scored on. Everybody's head is going to be like, everyone. That's human. That's human reaction. So noticing right away that you're like, okay, shoot. Okay, I did that. I know I'm disappointed. Let's go get it. Let's choose to be ready and ready for the next, because that happened. That's already happened. We have no control over that now. So let's choose positivity. Let's communicate positively to each other and get the next one and keep it going. And then a big one is process goals over outcome goals. That's a huge mental performance skill that I use. And a lot of my athletes are like, what do you mean? What you mean by that? I'm like, well, so many times in this society and in sports, we're always looking for that outcome, that win, that data point, that goal, those stats. But there's so many things that are outside of our control to achieve those kinds of goals. If we back it up and make process goals, those are entirely things we have control over, and entire things that can be measured specifically, time-based, and can happen. So that's really important to make the process goal, for me to explain what it is and what it isn't, and for us to commit to those before every training session and before every competition. So the difference between process and outcome. So process, let's say a goalie wants a clean sheet. Okay, every goalie wants a clean sheet. That's their contribution to their team. But there's so many things that can happen that aren't in the goalie's control whether a goal is scored or not. So I'm like, okay, so let's back it up. We want a clean sheet. So what is your job, or what's your role? What can you contribute to make that happen? Because it's everybody's. Everybody gets scored on, everybody scores. It's a whole team. So one of my guys is like, I got to communicate loudly, positively all the time. And I got to address my own negative thoughts, because then he gets down on himself. I should have done this. I should have done that. Like, like there's time for processing later. Give it a minute, but then it's like, okay, wait, I'm done. Let's move on. So that's what he's in control of. He can choose his attitude. He can choose how he communicates, and he can choose how he contributes culture and atmosphere and climate of the team. So those are some. I have many more, but those are some.
Those were amazing. I think I need to actually implement some of these myself just for everyday
You
life.
know what's cool is like, if you might notice, a lot of these goals are also goals for our lives.
Absolutely.
So what I love is that athletes who practice goals like this, they can transfer that to the next level, right? Whether that's the next level of sport, education, or a job or career, that they've already know what it's like to be positive, to be disciplined, to be a leader, to use your voice. I mean, that takes you far in life. And I often try to make those connections. Like, yes, you can use these on the field, but yo, you're gonna have these now. No one can take them away. No one can
I
take them
love
away.
it. Oh, that's amazing. So if you had to give some advice to parents or coaches that are trying to be supportive for student athletes, what is one thing that you would tell them that they can do in order to support these athletes a little bit better? And you can give two different answers, or
Okay.
but
I'm like,
because I
one
know it
thing-
can be different depending on parents or coaches, but how can we be more supportive?
Parents, coaches, and then I think the level that you compete at is a big one too.
Okay.
So recreational versus competitive versus elite, and they can go across levels collegiately. I mean, of course, when we get to Olympic and professional, it's a whole nother area. But I think that I mean, this is kind of interesting that's coming up right now, but this has come up that for parents, they love them no matter what they do. I love you because of who you are, not what you do. And that what you do or don't do does not dictate your value. Your contribution to this family, your contribution to your school and to this society. It's who you are. So like, I ask my daughter and my son all the time, like, so were you kind today? Tell me one time that you were kind. How did you treat someone today? And were you kind to yourself? Did you have fun today? Tell me 3 things. And my son's like, really? I told you yesterday. I'm like, this is a new day. 3 things that happened that you're happy about today. He'll say recess, lunch, and walking home. So sometimes I have to say, in the classroom, dude, in the classroom. And so they know that that's when they see me, I'm going to be asking them about their experience, not doing, not how many goals did you score, not how many hits did you get. That causes anxiety in the collegiate athlete and young athlete, like that, like, oh, I have to have a good answer, and what if I don't feel proud about what I did? And it's a lot. It's a lot. So being unconditionally supportive, that's the parent side. The coach, and you guys have spoken to it a lot, is learning your athlete, knowing them above and beyond the sport and how they contribute to the team. Know their hobbies, know who their friends are, know a little bit about their family, know where they come from. That means a lot. That means a lot to the student athlete. So don't be afraid to know your student and know your athlete, and know that you're only one part of a system that supports the athlete. It's not just you. You got your athletic trainers, you got your assistant coaches, you got a life skills coach maybe that's embedded in the athletic department. Like, you get to lean on each other and support the athlete and the team together. That you're not alone, you're not a clinician, you're not a parent. Know your role, stay boundaried there so you don't get burned out. But that I think the athlete being seen by you is super, super important, above and beyond what they can contribute and perform in their sport for you. Because a lot of times they feel the pressure to do this for you. And so let them be them. So.
Those are great tips. And especially like, the parent part. I have an 8-year-old daughter that does competitive dance, and my 6-year-old son does as well. But my daughter, I remember last year, she started to get upset if she didn't hit a certain score at certain competitions. And I had to remind her, we're proud of you because you got on that stage and you had fun.
Yes.
And you love what you're doing, and that's the most important thing. And you know, we had to have that conversation even at 8 years old with her.
It's never too young. I don't think
No.
it's never too young. You establish that as just the way your family rolls. That's
Yeah.
what you do. And so that's great that you do that. So that's awesome. They're going to grow up to be great human beings. So it's awesome.
I learned that from my parents. So
Yay, parents!
So I'm sure that you've heard a lot about this question a lot. Social media. How are you noticing the effects of social media on mental health, really at any level right now?
Yeah,
And
social media.
what are some things that you're doing to combat the negative things that they may be seeing, and so on and so forth?
It's a lot, and it's complex. I mean, a lot of, especially our younger athletes at the high school, collegiate, and even Olympic level, depending on your age, and professional, depending on your age, it's such a reflection of themselves, or they see it as a reflection of themselves. How many followers, how many likes? Oh gosh, who didn't follow me? Who didn't like me? Why not? Or it just causes more of that lack of belief and thinking that they're not doing well enough to be followed, which is so intense. It's so intense because again, you can't control who does that or not, but yet you are valuing yourself based on it. So it's super intense there. And then a lot of times too, they spend, I mean, the only time they have sometimes is late at night when school and training and games and everything, especially if they're traveling, they'll stay on it too long. And then be sad, disappointed, and even angry that they did that. And like, where the heck was I? I could have been doing this or that. And they get down on themselves. So it's mindless scrolling. What I try to get at is, what are you feeling? Again, back to the emotional piece. What are you feeling that you were on there for that long? And how come you didn't realize that you were on it for that long? What happened there? Where was a disconnect? It's often like, I'm bored. I didn't have anything else to do. Everyone was asleep. I was lonely. I wanted to see who liked me, stuff like that. And so really saying, like, you know, social media is one area that you can express yourself. There's so many other ones. We don't want to put more value on that than everything else. And so I'll put timers on it for my people, for my athletes. If you're gonna look today, 20-minute limit. You need to set your timer and then be disciplined enough, like you are with your physical training and your mental training, to acknowledge that timer and move on to the next thing. So be specific and deliberate about what you want to look at, because you only have 20 minutes. And it's not going to go into your sleep hygiene part. But I treat it as stay away from session to get it. That's false and not, you know. And then it's the when you make that transition to the next level, knowing that you have other identities that you can express yourself, whether it's a hobby, volunteering, mentoring, playing an instrument, that you get a chance to do that, so that the feedback on social media doesn't like tear your whole self down. So
I like
that's
those
a little
limits.
bit.
I like those
Yeah.
limits. I need to do that too.
They don't like it. They get mad at me at first. But yeah. Oh, good. Yes.
All this stuff.
Timers are key.
Let's see. What are most student athletes struggling with that they don't want to admit or come forward about?
This was interesting. This came up that they are very, very supportive of their teammates and friends getting mental health support. They'll support them. They'll help them talk to the trainer or the coach to access them. They'll help them, you know, go to the student counseling center or help them. But they don't want to say or admit that they might benefit from support. They don't want their teammates to see them as wanting or needing support. So they're all good about, yeah, you go, I support you, but then saying kind of what's really there, because it's so much about like, how are they going to think of me? They think I can still contribute like I have been if I'm struggling a little bit or just want to talk to someone? They fear the judgment. So a lot of times too, they don't want to share that maybe their relationship isn't as positive and healthy as possible with their intimate partner. Like that brings a lot of shame, and they don't want to admit it. And so they isolate and don't talk about it. Disordered eating is something that comes up quite a bit. And so not wanting to be truthful about that, again, for around the shame. So those are just some things. I think in general, being honest about who they are, I mean, as humans, and not have to hide behind a facade of just the athlete, and that's all I am. So being honest and aware, because athletes aren't encouraged to do that. They're only encouraged to show their good side.
Yep.
To come up and do their job, you know, for the team, for their sport. And it's never really asked like a lot now. Like it's changing. How are you doing in your relationships? How are you doing in your own self-care and your own mental health, and your own physical health, aside from the sport? So anything I think that can cause embarrassment or shame, because developmentally at this age too, how their peers see them is super, super important. More important than how adults see them. So they want to be seen as supportive and understanding of the plight or challenge or situation of their teammate, but the risk to share where they're at can be very big.
That's, yes, it's huge. And like you said, it peers, especially at that age, peers trump all. And if they feel like their peers may not view them in the same way, they may be hesitant to share. So thank you. So now I want to open it up for other questions. Does anybody else have questions for Lisa? Feel free to share them in the chat, or you can unmute yourself. It's a small group.
It's Mom.
Hi, Mom.
I'm still frozen on the screen, but I am listening. And I just have to say, Lisa, you really have brought a lot of things forward for me as an ex-athlete. And I just have to tell you that listening to everything on the news and everything else that's out there, thank God for people like you who are here to help. And I just want to tell you, I appreciate everything you're doing.
Thank you so much. That means a lot. I really, really appreciate those kind words. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I told you, she taught me how to be a good human.
Wish I could see her face. I'm trying to, she said it was frozen.
I'm froze. I don't know what's going on.
Froze. That's okay.
I'm sorry.
Laura will have to send me a picture later. That's okay.
Okay.
Yes. Anybody else have any questions? Amy?
Yeah, well, one question, because you had mentioned earlier, Lisa, that like you're part of, you're an important part of the team, as a mental health specialist. And I mean, you obviously bring all this counseling experience. And when you said that, I'm like, yeah, you're, when an athlete comes to you, you're part of their team. And so I guess one question would be, what are some other team members, they should have on their team to help them, be that kind of total athlete, but, to help build them into, I could talk about like a human, right? That they're more holistic. Not only obviously as they're an athlete, but then when they don't have all the reasons, because, obviously as an athlete, a lot of times there are some resources that are available to them, within the team context. Like you said, like the nutritionist and, a trainer and all that. Let's say they're stepping out. Yeah. Who should be on their team?
Mhm. Well, it's a great, great question. And one of my mentors says all the time, like, you have 7 seats on your bus to take you to that next space or that next level. Who do you want? Who takes up those 7 seats? Right. And I think it's unique to the human because every human has different needs, desires, ways they like to receive support. So I like to think about the areas of life. So a mentor, like a career mentor, someone who's in your field that you want to be in and that you can talk to and that can guide you through the steps. A spiritual or religious advisor, depending on their identification. Someone who's like, a lot of the teams I work with, there's like the freshmen are partnered like with seniors. So like having an older team member kind of help you through the ropes, especially Amy talked about like freshman year, you talked about like it being, you being a stress ball, but that is a very stressful time, that next level from high school to college. So having an older player kind of show you the ropes, kind of introduce you to the culture, I think that's huge. I think while still there, like being able to have a tutor of some sort to get you through that next level of education. Let's see. I mean, I'm thinking about my 7. I have an accountant. I have a financial advisor. I have, my mom, so every athlete's going to be different, but I think taking the time to think about who your 7 people are. It could be your best friend who you've trusted since the kindergarten, who will always be there for you no matter what your endeavors are. So I think whatever the 7 might be, taking the time to identify what yours are, I think is really important.
Yeah, fabulous. Thank you. Appreciate that because I know that's one of the pieces, when transitioning from a sport to a different career, right? I mean, I know that's one of those pieces, the team, the loss of team, in the sense that we've known it as an athlete is a significant area of loss, right? And how do I create that in a different way? Because it's never going to look the same, but doesn't mean it can't ever be again. It's just going to look different.
That's right. I mean, I recommend to any young person moving into life away, like be involved in a professional organization of some sort, because that's your community. That can be your team. And accepting that it's not going to feel the same and be exactly the same, and that's okay. It serves a different purpose right now. But athletes know how to be in a team dynamic, and that's not just a sports team, a professional organization, an alumni association, maybe. I'm part of the Alliance for Social Workers in Sports, and I'm emailing and texting them all the time, like, okay, like, what did you use here? Is this cool? It's like a collegial support. People who are doing this, what you're doing, so you don't feel alone in what it is that you're doing. Because I couldn't do this work alone, that's for sure. Wouldn't want to. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for that. Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you, Amy. That was awesome. That was a great question. Does anybody else have a question or? Okay, Lisa, thank you so much. This has been so amazing. You have given us so much to unpack in the best way. I'm so very thankful for your time. Next Level Athlete Advantage thanks you so much for your contribution here. Really quickly, I want to share your IG handle, which is Lisa Bonta Sumii, all together, and that is how you can reach Lisa if you have any questions for her or want to reach out to her. That's a great way. Do you want me to share your email on here, or we can share it in the?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm
Okay,
open.
so, all right, sounds great. So email on here is also mindsetdesign@lisabontasumii.com. And we're also sharing it in the chat for those of you that are live. And we will also share this information within the community as well. So the next level athlete advantage community. So I know Lisa would love to hear from you. And once again, Lisa, we thank you so much for your time here. I'm going to hand it over to Chris here, and he's going to close us out.
Actually, it's me that's closing out.
Oh, just kidding, Amy.
Chris is
Amy,
like, wait,
no.
what?
She's like, wait a minute. I already introduced. What is
Right.
going
I
on
know
here?
that's cool. That's cool. And sorry, it's funny because I just I posted your email and it came, and yeah, it says mail too. That's not part of her email address, just so you know. Anyway, keep that out. Right. I don't know why I copied the link and it came anyway. It's all right.
Thanks for putting that there. I know my name is a mouthful and a handful, so I appreciate you spelling that out for people.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, so I want to extend my thanks as well to you, Lisa, for giving of your time tonight, and we're very grateful for your expertise, for your insight, and gosh, like Kathy said, like Laura said, you've given us so much to unpack and to process even in our own lives here and now, right? And so this is going to be such a benefit for all who watch and or listen. So thank you. I can see, like, I remember when we had our pre-call, you were talking about how, you know, when you've zeroed in on serving athletes in the last 3 years, how you feel 20 years younger, and that you're just, and you can tell, like, I mean, your energy surrounding this is so evident. I mean, we can feel it through the screen. And I think that's just, you not only bring so much, like I said, just experience and wisdom from a counseling standpoint and all of that, and all the training and expertise you bring, but just your passion for them and desire for them to be healthy and as whole as they can be is such a gift to the athletes you get to serve. So we can sense that so significantly. So and you know what, and this is why we've created, why Chris and Laura and I have created this community, right? To be able to be get connected to people like you who are experts in their field, to be able to bring this kind of value to student athletes is a treasure. And I mean, you were a connection of a connection, through Malcolm Lemons. I think Chris was actually the one who said, hey, you should get this guy's blog. And I'm like, okay. So I just love that. And just how generous Malcolm is and how generous you are to give of your time. And because we're all about wanting to help athletes the best we can. So I love that we're coming together to be able to partner in this way, because again, that's why we created this community, to do that, to bring athletes together so that they can not only, like Laura said and Chris said earlier, not only to network together, but to share ideas, and then, wow, to get exposed to teaching like this and wisdom that they can really, like our name says, take them to the next level in ways, not just physically in their sport, but mentally, right? Emotionally, spiritually, in those places. Because we're interconnected in that. They're not siloed pieces of ourselves, right? Absolutely. So we're grateful. That's why, again, we've created this community, and I'm going to have either Chris or Laura, if you can post, like, if you want to join, again, our community is free to join. Awesome. Chris is on it. You can click on that link and join our free community. Again, where we're going to be, you'll be part of our email list, and you'll get notified of future opportunities like this that we're hosting. And another cool thing is that if you want to have further guidance or mentorship from Chris and Laura and myself, and even guests like Lisa and others who are going to be joining us, we have a subscription option as well, that you can become a monthly member to get even further attention, right, and guidance, like I said, and mentorship. So it's an awesome opportunity that's explained as well. And will be as you get notifications from us. So we would love to be able to come alongside you in a deeper way if that's what you want. And we're going to have, like I said, more opportunities. The next webinar we're going to be hosting is on September 20th with, her name's Amanda Jones. She's been a volleyball coach for years in the collegiate realm. And she is also is now certified as a mental health specialist coach, but she's going to be focusing in on confidence. Right, as athletes, right, that's such a huge piece that we need, and that gets impacted, right, whether we're going from, one level to the next, or we're put in a new position, or whatever it might be. I mean, she's on fire too. We've had a call with her, and can't wait to bring Amanda to you here in a couple weeks. Again, more opportunities. Hey, you know what? My Cornell soccer coach is going to be a guest here pretty soon. So I'm excited, excited for that. Yeah. So he's amazing. So again, so you can visit our website at nextlevelathleteadvantage.com, where there's going to be resources there, as well as you can join our community through our website. But we want to thank you all for being here, for those of you who are here on live, and those of you who will be watching and or listening to the recording in the future. It's been a real treat to be here and to have you, Lisa. We got so much from our pre-call with you, but you have blown us away here tonight, and we're just so grateful for the time you've given us. So
well, it's been my honor and privilege to be and reached out to join you. I mean, Next Level Athlete Advantage is something that I know would have helped me as a young athlete, and helped me as a human and in my life. So everyone who's able to connect with you and be a part of your community is fortunate. Chris, Laura, and Amy are special people, and have a passion which they have identified, and a purpose that they're giving of their time. After their whole family goes to sleep, they're up here doing it. So I'm fortunate enough to be connected, and anything more I can help with your organization and anyone who comes through it, please let me know. Absolutely.
We absolutely will. And I know you have shared some resources as well, that you, and I what we'll do is, one of the things that like we talked about with the Next Level Athlete Advantage, we have free resources for you, but you need to be part of the community to get in touch with those. But I know you had mentioned, I'm going to post these here, or Chris, do you have access to them? Do you know? If not, I can grab them real quick here. Let's see. Yeah, because you listed some websites,
Yes,
for athletes that could be a real benefit to them. Is there anyone in particular that you would say, yeah, let's do this right now?
Cutler Wellness Programs is huge. That organization does athlete mental health education. Betsy Cutler, the CEO and founder, has an app that students can use. It's free. If schools or teams want to use it, it can be branded with your logo and have your resources, particularly to your region and your school, embedded in the app. But it includes athletes being able to ask just a few questions on a daily basis, and actually they can chart their moods and emotions and how they're doing.
Wow.
Which is really cool. There's also Gallia Health. They're a platform where they've put together therapists and sport performance consultants together on one platform, and you can go and take a look at people's profiles and see, as a parent or an athlete, who serves what levels and ages. That's really cool.
Okay.
There's a few more, like myhuddle.com also works with collegiate athletes. They have education, and they're based out of California mostly, but that's run by past soccer player as well, Division I soccer player at Harvard.
Woo, oh no. A rival.
So yeah, but feel free to, I can send more of those out, or like you guys can email me, make sure that those are available for all of your community as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Great. Those are some great suggestions. So, and that I love that, right? Because they can do that right now. They can go
Yeah.
and check those out. So
Yeah.
awesome. Okay.
Yes.
Well, you are a wealth of resources and knowledge. So again, thank you so much, Lisa, for being with us. Thank you, everybody. We know it's you've been on here a while with us, so thanks for hanging in.
Yeah.
But you have a wonderful rest of your night, and thanks again for joining us, everybody. All right.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Thank
night.
you, everyone.
All
Have a
right.
good night. Bye-bye.
See you.
Hey, hey, Chris.
Hey, hey, hey.